For skipping my sister's wedding after she demanded a grieving widow's condo? My name is Rachel and I am 43 years old. 6 months ago, my husband Edward passed away after a 2-year battle with cancer. He was 58, 15 years older than me, and even so we had a beautiful marriage, the kind where you feel like a true team. I met him when I was 21. He was already an established man with a running business, sure of himself. I was young, hardworking, with a desire to get ahead. We fell in love fast and got married fast. It seemed rushed to a lot of people, but to us it felt natural. Over the years, Edward grew a lot in his field. He made good money not by luck but through hard work. The kind of guy who wakes up early, who does not back down, who does not make up excuses. When he got sick, I quit my full-time job to take care of him. And I do not say that lightly. Those were 2 extremely hard years, watching the person you love slowly fade away bit by bit. I would not wish that on anyone. I stayed with him until the very end. He passed away in our bedroom, in the house where we lived for 15 years, holding my hand. After the funeral, I found out what he had left me. I knew we were financially stable, but I did not grasp the full extent of it. The house in a beautiful suburban neighborhood where we already lived, a condo in Lincoln Park that we rented out, a lake house in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where we used to go to breathe when life allowed us to. 2 luxury vehicles and money in several bank accounts, an investment portfolio, everything well organized. I decided to keep the house. It had too many memories to just let it go so suddenly. The condo in Lincoln Park, on the other hand, I was going to save for my son Daniel for when he finished college. He was 20 at the time. He was in his 2nd year studying engineering at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. A smart kid, the kind that surprises you with how clearly they see the world. Edward always used to say, "That boy has a good head on his shoulders." Daniel was born when I was 23. I mention this because even that gets questioned in my family, as if one had to justify even the date they took a breath. As for getting married again, no, that is out of the question. Edward was the love of my life. I am not looking to replace him, but I did decide to do something with part of the money, something meaningful. I started supporting a foundation that helps families with medical treatments and also the caregivers, because I know the toll it takes, not just financially, but in body and soul. I went back to work, but part-time, not out of necessity, but because staying home all day was dragging me down, making me think about him all the time, and I needed to keep moving, to have a routine, not to stay frozen. Everything was more or less calm until last week. It was February when my parents called me. "Rachel, sweetie, we need to talk to you about something important," my mom said with that tone of voice that implies you are not going to like it, but you just have to deal with it. My dad was on speakerphone. "It is about your sister Lily," he said. Lily was getting married in May, and my parents were expecting me to help with the wedding. Lily is 33, 10 years younger than me. The baby of the family, the spoiled one, the one who was always the joy of the house, pretty, charming, quick to laugh. And also, who am I kidding? Very used to having others solve her problems. Help? In what way? I asked, even though I could already feel it coming. "Well, with money," my mom blurted out. "She and Thomas are just starting out and a wedding costs a fortune." I took a deep breath. "I do not want to fight," I told them. "Let me talk to her." I hung up and dialed her number right away. "Rachel, you have no idea how thrilled I am that you called me," Lily squealed as soon as she picked up. "They already told you about the wedding." "Yes, they told me you might need some help. It is just that I have some incredible ideas. Look, Thomas and I want to have it at a super beautiful venue, one of those high-end country clubs, and I want like 200 guests with a proper dinner service, everything done right." I stayed quiet and she kept going. "And the dress, there is a designer boutique on Oak Street that has the perfect one, perfect. It costs about $4,000, but it is worth every penny. And I also want a live band, the kind that gets everyone dancing, and a photographer, a videographer, flowers." "No, Rachel. Seriously, it is going to be gorgeous." I let her talk for about 20 minutes. She went on about the decor, centerpieces, cars, invitations, everything. When she finally took a pause, I told her calmly, "It sounds beautiful, Lily. But do you have any idea how much all of that costs?" "Well, no, exactly," she said without a care in the world. "That is why I am calling you. You have the means right now." There was the punchline. I clenched my jaw. "Look, I am willing to help you, But what you are describing could easily run you over $60,000. So what? She blurted out shamelessly. No, Lily, it is not so what. A wedding should not cost as much as a down payment on a house. She went silent. Then she said, like someone who already had the question prepared. So how much would you give me then? I thought for a few seconds. $40,000. That is my gift for your wedding. Beyond that, whatever is missing, you and Thomas or his parents or our parents can figure it out. The reaction was cold. Just $40,000. Lily, it is a massive gift. Most people pay for their weddings however they can. She muttered something that sounded like a thank you and hung up. The next day, I opened a separate bank account just for that. I transferred exactly $40,000, but I did not give her a debit card. I did not give her access. Not out of spite, but for transparency. I texted her. That money is for your wedding. I will pay the vendors directly as you send me the contracts and invoices. That way we avoid any messes. On Sunday, we went to eat at my parents' house. Lily was there with Thomas, her fiancé. He seemed calm, polite, the kind who speaks very little. He worked in IT from what I had been told. At the table, before any confusion could start, I made it clear. I want everyone to know something. I have already set aside $40,000 for Lily and Thomas's wedding. That is my gift. My parents looked at each other. Lily smiled, but you could tell it was forced. Thomas opened his eyes wide in surprise, as if he did not know the amount. That is very generous, Rachel, my dad said, but his tone had that edge that implied I could give more. Yes, it is generous, I replied firmly. And that is where it stays. The rest of the meal was spent on random topics, but the air felt weird. My mom kept looking at me as if I were letting someone down. Lily barely touched her food. I left thinking the same thing. That money was enough for a very beautiful wedding. If they wanted more luxury, that was their business. A few weeks went by where everything went back to its normal pace. I was working about 20 hours a week in marketing for a small company that sold environmentally friendly cleaning products. My boss, Amanda, was very understanding with me and let me adjust my schedule. I also went to the foundation twice a week. We organized fundraisers, looked for sponsors, and helped families understand their expenses and connect with support programs. Every time I signed a donation or saw an exhausted caregiver, I thought of Edward. Daniel and I had a video call every week, sometimes two. He would tell me about his classes, his friends, a roommate who snored like a freight train, and a girl he liked but was too shy to talk to. Those calls were my breathing room. Until one Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, I saw an email from Lily. The subject line read, Gift Registry. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen for a long time before opening it, because I had already given her my gift. $40,000. What else could she possibly want? When I opened it, I almost choked on my coffee. There were 5 items and each one was worse than the last. The condo in Lincoln Park. One of the cars. The house in Lake Geneva. Edward's watch, the one he wore every day for years, the one I plan to give to Daniel someday. And to top it off, a 2-week honeymoon trip to the Maldives. I read the list 3 times. It was not a joke, it was a demand. I froze. Then I felt the anger rising inside me. Part of me wanted to call her that exact second and scream at her, but I already knew how that would end. She would be crying, and my parents would call me later to tell me not to be mean. And with that email, all the things I had been swallowing for years came crashing down on me. When Lily was born, I was 10. While other girls were playing, I was changing diapers, heating up bottles, rocking her to sleep. My mom was always tired, my dad was working overtime, and I was the one who became the default babysitter. When I turned 16 and started working at a retail store, most of my paycheck went to household expenses and things for Lily, whether it was clothes, school supplies, classes, or whatever she fancied. I went to college on a scholarship, thank God, but I still worked and sent money back home. Sometimes I could not even afford my own textbooks, but there I went because your sister needs it. When I married Edward, I paid for everything. My parents did not chip in at all. I vividly remember my mom saying, "Well, Edward has money, you guys do not need help," as if the responsibility fell entirely on him just because he was doing well. Then Daniel was born when I was 23, and Lily was 14. Do you think she ever offered to watch him? No. My parents barely helped with their first grandson. I tackled it alone with a baby while Edward traveled for work. And when Lily started college, who paid her tuition? I did for 4 years. Transfer after transfer. Her studying something she never even planned to practice, living life as if money grew on trees. When she graduated, I also paid her rent for her first apartment for 6 months while she got settled. And now, after all that, she was sending me a registry asking for my condo, my car, my lake house, my husband's watch, and a trip that costs a fortune. I sat there for a long time, my head filled with memories and my chest tight, until I thought, all right, let us be reasonable. I reread the list and picked the cheapest option, if that word even applies to the trip. A fully planned honeymoon easily runs into several $1,000s. Even so, it was way less than giving away properties. I replied to her email. Lily, I already gave you $40,000 for your wedding. That was my gift. Even so, if you want, I can pay for the honeymoon. That would be my final offer. I hit send and closed my laptop, thinking that was the end of it. 10 minutes later I got her reply. No, that is not how this works. I need everything on the list, not just one thing. You have plenty to spare and I have nothing. Either you pick all 5 things or you better not even show up. I sat in silence, reading that over and over. The sheer audacity. I grabbed my phone and called her. She answered quickly, as if she had been waiting for the call. What is wrong with you? I said bluntly. Are you seriously asking me for all of that? Yes, she replied, already on the defensive. You just have it sitting there. Edward left you a condo, the house in Lake Geneva, the cars, the watch, and money. What do you want it all for? Because I have a son, I told her. And because those things are not for you to just waltz in and take as if they belong to you. But I am getting married, she blurted out with a fake tearful voice. This is supposed to be the happiest time of my life and I cannot afford anything nice. With $40,000 you can throw a very nice wedding. And if you want more, you can figure it out yourself. There was silence and then her tone shifted. Dry. Well, either you give me everything on the list or do not come to my wedding. I laughed, but out of disbelief. You are giving me an ultimatum. I am telling you how it is. Are you giving me what I want, or are you not welcome? I took a deep breath. Lily, do you not remember that I am the one paying for your wedding? And then she unleashed the absolute worst. Besides, it is not even your money, Rachel. You did not earn it. You just lucked out because Edward got sick and left you everything. The least you can do is share with your family instead of being so selfish. My body went ice cold. I did not yell. I did not make a scene. I hung up. I sat there shaking for a while. Saying something like that about Edward is unforgivable. I grabbed my phone, opened my banking app, and in under 2 minutes I canceled the transfer to the wedding account and closed it. Then I took a breath and made another decision. I was not going to keep negotiating, I was not going to keep explaining myself. I turned off my phone. I knew I was going to be flooded with calls the second they found out. That afternoon I went out to the garden. Edward and I had fixed it up 3 years earlier. Getting my hands in the dirt calmed me down. I stayed out there until it got dark, pulling weeds, watering, breathing, trying to simmer down my anger. The next day I turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls. Non-stop text messages. First from Lily. At first she was scared, then furious. Give me access back. That money is mine. You cannot do this to me. You are ungrateful. Mom and Dad are going to find out. Then the ones from my parents. My mom demanding that I call her right now. My dad saying that I was overreacting. I did not reply to any of it. I deleted the messages. I went on with my day. I had a meeting at the foundation and I was not going to let their drama ruin the only thing that gave me purpose at that moment. But they did not take the hint. That very same day at night, I heard cars pulling into my driveway. I peeked out the window. It was my parents' car and Lily's car. Perfect, I muttered. They did not even knock. They walked in as if it were their own house. Lily still had a key from when she used to house sit for us years ago. As soon as she saw me, she yelled, "Rachel, what do you think you are doing?" My parents walked in right behind her with stern faces. "Rachel," my mom said, using her lifelong scolding tone. "Fix this right now." "Fix what?" I asked as calmly as I could. "You know what," Lily snapped. My wedding is in 3 months and you have already ruined everything. I did not ruin anything. You ruined it when you dared to speak about my husband like that. I did not speak ill of him, she said, but you could see her discomfort. You said I lucked out because he passed away. That is not just being angry, Lily, that is cruelty. My parents exchanged a look. I looked at them and asked, do you guys already know about the registry? My mom nodded shamelessly. Of course we know. I helped her put it together. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. You helped her. My mom crossed her arms. Rachel, you have lived well for many years. Edward gave you everything. It is time for Lily to have her turn. It is your responsibility as the older sister. Responsibility, I repeated, almost in disbelief. My dad chimed in. Your sister deserves a beautiful wedding and a good start in life. You have plenty to spare. Share it. The three of them were standing right there in my living room, in the house where Edward and I lived for 15 years, demanding that I hand over what he worked for his entire life. Something inside me snapped, but in a good way. Out, I said, raising my voice. Get out of my house. Lily opened her mouth. No, you have always been. Out, I repeated. Rachel, my mom said. You cannot just. I am not giving you another dime. I am not paying for anything extra, and I am not going to that wedding. Lily started to cry. You are just jealous, she shrieked. Because I am actually getting married and you are going to end up all alone. That is enough, I said. Are you leaving right now, or should I dial 911 to help escort you out? My dad scoffed. You would not dare. I took out my phone and started dialing. And that was what finally got them moving. They left, but it was not over. Over the next 2 weeks, the reinforcements arrived. Aunts, cousins, people who never reached out to me, suddenly calling me as if I owed them explanations, all spouting the same speech. She is your sister. Family is family. How can you leave her hanging like that? I tried explaining it to my Aunt Carol, with whom I always got along. Auntie, she asked me for my condo, a car, the lake house, and Edward's watch. Would you give away your house? She stayed quiet for a second. Well, no, but your case is different. You have the means. And right then I understood. It was not about family, it was about greed. I stopped answering calls, and a week later, something happened that made me lose my mind. Daniel called me, his voice tight. Mom, Grandma called me. What did she say to you? That if I do not convince you to help Aunt Lily, they are going to cut me off. That I will no longer be welcome at family gatherings, and that they are not going to support me through college. I felt the fury rise inside me like fire. Daniel, listen to me. Your grandma does not pay for your college, I do. And dragging my son into this was crossing a massive line. I told him everything. The registry, what she said about Edward, that my mom helped her make the list, that they gave me an ultimatum. Daniel did not interrupt. When I finished, he stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said in a serious tone, Mom, if they are willing to cut me off because you refuse to give my aunt a condo and a car, then maybe I do not want a relationship with them either. My eyes welled up with tears, but out of pride. I love you, son. I love you too, Mom. And honestly, I think Dad would be proud of you for standing your ground. That call lifted my spirits like you have no idea. At least I was not alone. Months went by and I threw myself into my work, into the foundation, and into organizing a large fundraising event. Staying busy helped me not think so much about the fallout. Daniel and I spoke every week, sometimes twice. He told me that he finally got the courage to ask out the girl he liked. They went to a campus event and he was happy. One day he asked me, Mom, are you okay? I mean, with the whole grandma and aunt thing. Yes, my love. It hurt at first, but right now I actually feel relieved. I no longer have to live under their demands. After a month they stopped pushing. I suppose they realized they were not going to break me. My phone grew quieter. And to be honest, I preferred it that way. When May rolled around and the wedding date passed, I did not even ask about it. In early June, I was scrolling through Facebook and saw pictures of Lily's wedding. A cousin had posted them. I should not have snooped, but my curiosity got the better of me. The wedding was in my parents' backyard. A small white canopy meant for about 30 people. Plain chairs. Lily in a pretty but simple dress, nothing close to the one from the Oak Street boutique. The flowers looked like they were bought at a supermarket, and instead of a live band there was a cousin playing the guitar. And you know what? It looked lovely, intimate, even sweet. And the most ironic part is that with the $40,000 I had offered, that wedding would have been fully paid for with plenty left over. But Lily chose to burn it all down because she wanted more. In the photos, Thomas looked happy. I felt a little sorry for him. He seemed like a good guy, and I truly hoped he did not grasp even half the venom she had spat out. That summer, for the first time in a long time, I had a good time. I spent a few weekends in Lake Geneva. I would leave early to hit the road without much traffic. I would sit by the lake and read. I would take walks and tend to the garden. That place still held Edward in every corner. Yes, but it did not hurt the same way anymore. It felt like having him close without it breaking me. I also went on a spa weekend with some friends from work. I took a pottery class and turned out to be better at it than I expected. Simple things, things that let you breathe again. In August, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Thomas. Hi Rachel. It is Thomas. I hope it is okay that I am messaging you. I got your number from Lily's phone. I wanted to talk because I feel like there are misunderstandings in the family, and maybe things can be fixed. I stared at the message for a while. I replied, Hi Thomas. Thanks for reaching out, but there are no misunderstandings. Lily knows exactly what she did. I wish you the best. He did not text back after that. I felt a bit bad for him. He was probably trying to fix something he did not fully understand, but it was not my job to educate my sister through her husband. In September, Daniel turned 21. I flew to Ann Arbor to spend the weekend with him. We went out to dinner at a nice place, and when the time came, I gave him a gift I had been saving for a while, the keys to Edward's car. Daniel looked at me like he could not believe it. Mom, are you sure? This was Dad's car. Your dad wanted it to be yours. He told me that before he took a turn for the worse. And you learned to drive in it. He always said that car was meant for you. Daniel's eyes teared up. I miss him. I do too, sweetie, every single day. But he would be so proud of the man you are becoming. That weekend he showed me around his campus. He introduced me to his friends, good hardworking kids. You could tell they cared about him. Seeing him like that in his own element, happy and grounded, reminded me of what truly matters. Not the people who seek you out for what you have, but the ones who love you for who you are. On the flight back, I made a decision. That money I had set aside for the wedding, which Lily essentially spat back in my face, was not going to just sit there as a reminder. I was going to donate it to the foundation, not to feed someone's spoiled whims, but to help caregivers who are right where I used to be. Exhausted, alone, trying to keep afloat someone they love. The following week, I made the donation. The director called to thank me. She said they were going to use it for a caregiver support program, providing companionship and guidance. I thought it was perfect. It has been 6 months since Lily's wedding and I have not heard a peep from my family. No holiday wishes, no texts, nothing. And you know what? I am fine. I have my son who respects and loves me. I have friends who reach out because they enjoy my company, not because they want something from me. I have a job, I have a purpose, I have Edward's memory and the life we built together. And I have something that for years was very hard for me to hold on to, my dignity. I did not let them manipulate me into giving away what Edward worked so hard to leave for me and Daniel. I did not reward their abuse. I did not feed into the idea that someone can hurt you and still demand that you applaud them for it. Sometimes people ask me if I have any regrets. It hurts that they showed me their true colors, sure, but I do not regret standing up for myself. Lily chose her path when she decided that speaking about my husband that way was acceptable as long as it got her what she wanted. My parents chose theirs when they backed her up instead of putting a stop to it. And I made my choice too. I chose not to live on my knees. I chose to respect myself. I chose to honor Edward. And for the first time in a long time I feel at peace. I am Daniel, Rachel's son, and I am writing this because even though all of this happened within a family, I know it might sound familiar to you in real life. I saw my mom carrying responsibilities that were not hers from a very young age. And even then, she always tried to keep the peace, even when they asked her for unfair things. But she understood something that sometimes takes many years to accept. Loving your family does not mean letting them hurt you, nor does it mean becoming the automatic fix for everyone's problems. There are people who confuse love with the right to make demands of you, and when you finally say, enough is enough, they call you selfish simply because they can no longer use you. My mom did not become hardened, she became clear. She learned to set boundaries without yelling, to uphold them without guilt, and to choose her own dignity, even if that left her in silence with the people who should have cared for her the most. And I also learned that true loyalty is not measured by how much you give, but by how much they respect you when you choose not to give. Comment. I wanted to share a few thoughts after watching Rachel's journey unfold. Setting boundaries is not about being unkind. It is about being responsible for your own well-being. The people who truly belong in your life will respect your no, as much as they respect your yes. Your generosity is a gift, and it should never be treated as an obligation by others. Choosing your peace over proving a point is a sign of incredible strength. Healing often begins the moment you decide to stop participating in situations that hurt you. Your own dignity should never be the price of admission for someone else's love. You have the right to protect the life you and your loved ones have built. I hope this story serves as a reminder that you deserve to be surrounded by respect, not just expectations. Remember that true kindness to others must always start with kindness to yourself. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.